Welcome to the Kendra Nicole Podcast, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of business and entrepreneurship, sprinkled with a touch of motherhood, chaos, and wisdom. I'm your host, Kendra James Anderson. With over 20 years of experience in the business arena and nearly a decade as a full-time entrepreneur, I've witnessed the ebbs and flows of the corporate world and the entrepreneurial landscape. But that's not all. I also navigate the beautiful chaos of being a wife and a mom to a lively toddler. So whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur looking for fresh ideas or just getting started on your entrepreneurial path, this podcast is your resource for valuable insights, motivation, and practical tips. So grab your notepads and let's embark on a journey to success. This is the Kendra Nicole Podcast, where business is our focus, but we also appreciate the beautiful mess of motherhood. Let's get started. Hi guys, Kendra here, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Kendra Nicole Podcast. I am your host, Kendra Nicole. Today we're going to dive deep into a very important topic in your business. It's all about the art of delegation, knowing when and how to hire in your business. So whether you are a solopreneur that's looking to expand your business, or maybe you're an established entrepreneur, you're wanting to streamline your operations, this episode is for you to help you gain the insight that you need to master the art of delegation. Now, before we hop into the when and the how of hiring, let's first just talk about why delegation is so important. It's really vital to the growth of your business, to the success of your business. And it's not just about lightening your workload. It's really about unlocking the best parts of your business's truest potential. So one of the reasons why delegation matters is because it allows you to focus on core tasks. It really allows everyone in the team to focus on their core tasks. So delegating allows you to concentrate on your high value tasks that require your unique skills and your unique expertise. It frees up your time and your creative energy. I work best doing CFO work. My zone is CFO work. So the intense business strategy with clients, and I can't deep dive into that specific strategy with a client or that specific CFO level work with the client if I'm thinking about this accounting task that's over here or this HR task that's over there. I have to really focus in on my zone of genius, which again is CFO work, business strategy work, in order to do the best for me, for myself, and for my business. So that's one reason why it's important. Another reason why it's important is scalability. So as your business grows, you just can't do it all alone. So delegation is the key to scaling your operations effectively. You can scale your operations without delegating, but you will run yourself ragged and you will burn out very quickly. So in order to scale your operations effectively, you're going to have to delegate. You're going to have to bring on folks, whether that's full-time, part-time, contractor basis, but you're going to have to bring people on to assist you in your business. And to that point, the third reason why delegating matters is specialized skills. So you bring in experts or specialists. You can leverage their skills to actually improve your business. You can not just bring folks in just to do the work, but they're actually really good at what they're good at. So as an example, again, I live in the CFO world. I love business, finance, and strategy. That's my experience. That's my expertise. Accounting is not. Remember, accounting and finance are different. If you don't know, go back and listen to several old podcast episodes that I have on that topic. But again, my zone is CFO work, not accounting work. So from the very get-go, y'all, before I even knew that the finance firm was going to be a business, when this was just a side hustle, from the very beginning, I hired somebody to handle the accounting side of it. And she's still an employee of the business to this day. She's now my accounting director, been with me all these years, 7, 8 years at this point that I've been in business. And I will tell you that my accounting director is the best in all of the land. I have zero doubt about that. And so not only am I delegating to someone else, but I'm delegating to someone else that has this specialized skill, who is an expert at what she does. So there's no way that the finance firm or that my Kendra Nicole practice would be where it is to this day if I did not delegate to someone that has this specialized skill set. So that's the third reason why it's important to delegate. And the fourth reason ties all of this together, really, it's work-life balance. So delegating, it helps you achieve a healthier work-life balance. It reduces burnout. It reduces stress. There is no way I can handle all of the accounting, financial reporting, investor relations, CFO work, business strategy, all the things that we do in my firm. There's no way that I can handle all of this on my own. I would absolutely burn out. I would absolutely be stressed out, and I wouldn't give the best quality of work. So those are the reasons why delegating is important. So now let's hop into, when is it important to hire? When do you know, when you should hire? So of course, timing is crucial. Making the right decision can make all the difference in your business's success. So one way to know when it's time to hire is overwhelmed workload. If you find yourself consistently overwhelmed and struggling to meet deadlines, then that is a clear sign that it's time to delegate. Another thing is growth opportunities. So when you spot growth opportunities that you can't capitalize on without bringing on additional help, then it is a prime time to consider hiring. So if somebody comes to you about a partnership, or if they come to you about this customized, unique opportunity with a potential client, and you're like, I would love that, I would be amazing at that, but I need some assistance in order to do that, it might be a good opportunity to bring someone else on board. Again, not necessarily full-time, not necessarily part-time, maybe even as a contractor, but to bring someone on board. The third way to know when it's time to hire is if you have a lot of repetitive tasks. So tasks that are repetitive and time-consuming can often be outsourced or delegated to free up your time so that you can do more strategic activities. You don't need to spend your valuable time doing repetitive tasks that are almost like low-hanging fruit, right? It's not that they're not important. Oftentimes they're very important, which is why they're, so heavy in your business, that they're repetitive, but it doesn't mean that you need to do it. It's something that can probably be automated or maybe just get passed off. And then another reason why you might need to delegate, and it might be time to hire, is expansion plans. So if you have plans to expand your business or to bring on new projects or to bring on new revenue streams, hiring might be necessary to handle that additional workload. So oftentimes people will think about these 7 streams of income, and guys, don't get me started on the 7 streams of income. I don't like the phrase 7 streams of income, because if you want to know why I don't like the phrase, DM me on IG, or leave a comment under the YouTube video for this podcast episode, because it's a whole rabbit hole and tangent that I don't want to waste your time with if you're not interested in knowing. But so if you have plans on getting another stream of income, whether it's the 7th or whether it's the 2nd, you might need to bring additional people onto your team in order to make that happen. Don't just think about additional revenue streams as additional revenue. It's actually usually additional revenue and costs associated to that revenue. So you have to factor all of that into the play, all of that into the conversation when you are thinking about whether or not that additional revenue stream makes sense. So just a little aside there, but yes, that is another reason when you know when it is time to hire. So now let's talk about one of my favorite things, which is, how do you hire? So once you've determined that it's time to hire, the next step is obviously understanding how to do it effectively. So let's talk about some key strategies. In some areas I'm going to really talk about more than others, because some, Step 1, you define your roles and your responsibilities, right? You have to first start by clearly defining, what is this position? What is the need? What are the roles? What are the responsibilities? You need to be very specific about the skills and the qualifications that are needed. We really love to have what we lovingly call a need sheet. A need sheet is basically, you list every role or responsibility or even task that this particular person is responsible for on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual basis. I missed one, semi-annual and annual basis. So every day, every week, month, quarter, semi-annual and annual basis. And you just list that down there, and you get all of the team's input on what they believe or what they believe should be included on that need sheet for that particular role. And then you obviously clean it up. The need sheet or this whole list of responsibilities is not going to create the job description. It's not the job description, but it's going to help you at least understand how to really create the job description and the roles and responsibilities, and to have the interview questions. That's the foundation of understanding what that role is. You got to get it all on paper first. Or for us finance folks, you got to get it all in Excel, because we love a good Excel sheet. So then once you've defined the roles and responsibilities, then you can consider the budget. So evaluate your budget, determine how much you can afford for this position, be realistic about compensation. One topic that I probably could do a whole episode on is compensation and how it's changed over these past 2 years, really, how it skyrocketed up and then it dropped and then it skyrocketed back up again. And now it's kind of leveling back out again. I'm recording this in Q4 of 2023. And so just do your research and be very realistic about compensation and about the full compensation plan, particularly if it's a full-time employee. So benefits, PTO, all of that, you want to consider all of that when you are considering your budget for this position. Then the third step is recruiting, right? So use all the different recruiting channels. Take that back. Don't use all of them. Use a few. So job boards, social media, your network, use all of those channels to really find your potential candidates. And then we get into the interview process. So you conduct your thorough interviews, you assess their skills, you assess their experience, you assess their cultural fit with your business. Let me say that again. You assess their cultural fit with your business. Understand what I mean by cultural fit, right? Not culture, but like the cultural fit within the business. So as an example, my team is largely made up of, my team is largely made up of head down, introverted, attention to detail oriented type folks, right? I mean, hell, we're finance and accounting, right? Like that's what we do. We sit down, we focus, we bang something out, we're done. We, very efficient. That's why I love the team. But if you are someone who is like a little scatterbrained and doesn't have great attention to detail, probably not the best fit for our business or our line of work. You could absolutely be extroverted, but understand, like when we hop on a group call, we're probably not going to talk 45 minutes about how the weekend went. Like it's just probably not going to happen. So, little things like that is what I mean by like cultural fit, right? So understand that. Now I'll live in this area of interview process for a little bit longer and talk about assessments. So we actually hire folks for our clients. Obviously, we hire folks for my business, for the finance firm, which is my accounting firm, and then also for Kendra Nicole, which is my corporate consulting agency. But in addition to hiring for my businesses, we also hire for our clients. And so I've hired chief marketing officers, chief operating officers, assistants, marketing managers. We've hired all levels within organizations. And one thing that we hire or that we include in the interview process, regardless of your level, is an assessment. And that assessment is after the initial after the initial application phase, but before the initial interview phase. And we give you an assessment that is curated specifically for your role. So depending on what we really need to test you on as far as your skill or your ability, that's what's in the assessment. So as an example, if 200 people applied to your job on a job board and you liked 50 of the applicants, you might send this assessment link to all 50 applicants and say, okay, in order to go into the interview process, you have to complete this assessment. The assessment might take 7 minutes to complete. This is not like a 3-hour long assessment. It's a quick assessment. Okay, maybe 15 minutes to complete. But out of that 50 that you send it to, 10 might actually do the assessment, because the other 40 might say their own right. They might say, I am not doing this work for free, unpaid, for somebody who I don't know is even going to hire me. Cool, don't. But then you're not going to move on to the next step. So then out of the 50, only 10 actually do the assessment. And let's say out of the 10 that do it, 4 you actually really like and you actually interview. That assessment is crucial, not just in cutting down the applicant pool, but also knowing who's really serious, actually being able to see their work before you actually interview them. So if you don't have an assessment process in your interview process, I highly recommend it. If you need more information about that or want me to like specifically talk through that, I absolutely can. Just once again, hit me up on Instagram at the Finance Fem, or go over to our YouTube channel where we actually post a video version of this podcast. And in the comment section, let me know that you would like that information. So that's the fourth step. The fifth step, onboarding and training. Whew. Now, if you have been listening to my rants on Instagram for a long time, about a year or so ago, I talked about the number one mistake that people make when they are hiring, and it's this step. It's actually not in the hiring step. It's not in the job description step. It's not in the interview process step. It's in the onboarding and training step. You have to invest time in properly onboarding and training to ensure that your new hires understand their roles, they understand your expectations, they understand the business. You have to invest that time. We can bring on the most amazing candidate that starts with you in your business. And if we don't invest that time, after a week, they might be like, this is not it. This is not what I signed up for. This is a mess. This is wild. Most of us have been in that situation on the other end, right? Where we get brought into an organization and we're excited as the new hire, a little anxious, but excited. And then we come in and we're like, this is a effing mess. No, I'm gone, right? And then the candidate leaves and you're just like, what? So you have to make sure that you are investing the time in onboarding them and training them. We love to do a 30, 60, 90-day plan. Again, I talk about this on my Instagram in a post a while back, but there's this 30, 60, 90-day plan that we create, which basically means here are the top priorities that we have for you in your first 30, 60, and 90 days of employment. And it helps tremendously because when you're first starting somewhere, you don't really know like what's the main thing that I need to be on. You know your overall position, but you're like, okay, what's important right now? So basically we're telling you, if you crush this in 30 days and then crush this in 60 and crush this in 90, you have crushed it as an employee. So we're telling you that. So give that to them so that they can actually then knock it out of the park versus making them kind of like not know and scramble a little bit. So, all right. So one other thing I do want to mention though is that delegation isn't just about hiring. So yes, this is all about the art of delegating, and I talked a lot about hiring, but delegation is not just about hiring. It's also about effectively entrusting like tasks and responsibilities to other people in your team. So let's just talk about that a little bit. Some like delegation strategies that don't necessarily have to do with bringing on new headcount, but instead managing headcount that you already have. So one thing is clear communication. So communicate your expectations clearly, ensure that your team understands their roles, encourage open dialogue, have reviews that support open dialogue. So some people call these like 360-degree reviews, but it doesn't have to be a formal, process. Just allow all the team members to express how they're feeling. We have biannual reviews here at CFF. At the Finance Fem. Sometimes we have them quarterly, especially for new hires. So have an actual review process, like that is important. It doesn't have to be super corporate and formal, but it does need to be on the calendar and your team needs to know that it's coming versus like, oh, let's just have a review next week. Have it at the top of the year. Plan what your dates are going to be for that review cycle for that year, or just better off, just know it's going to be at the end of each quarter, right? The start of each quarter every year. But have that because your team will feel good about that too, knowing when the review process is. Other technique is to just trust and empower your team, right? Trust your team to make decisions within their areas of responsibility. Empower them to take ownership. Nothing is more lovely than having a team that takes ownership of their role and responsibilities. So here at the Finance Fem and at Kendra Nicole, we see that a team member, once we see that a team member has grasped their role, we let them fly. We let them fly. My team knows that they can come to me with any questions, but they also know that they can answer the majority of their questions themselves by asking each other, by asking management. So, we let them fly. You don't have to come to me with everything, and that's great for me, right? Because I can, again, focus on what I need to focus on. Having regular check-ins also. So maintain those regular check-ins, track progress, offer support, be available for questions, be available for guidance. And that just ties back to having those regular and scheduled reviews. And then this feedback loop is another strategy. A feedback loop is really just establishing a routine for like continuous improvement. So you're encouraging your team to provide constructive input to their managers or about the overall business, about process. So it's just always being available for feedback. Again, it just ties back to open communication. So at the end of the day, delegation, yes, there's hiring, there's making sure that you have the right process to hiring, the right thought process on when and how to hire. But there's also those other strategies that I just talked about just with the team that you already have, ensure that you have that communication, you have that trust and empowerment, you have those check-ins so that you can leverage your current team and delegate effectively as well. So I hope this was helpful. I really do hope this is helpful. Remember that the art of delegation is an ongoing process, but it can definitely transform your business. So knowing when to hire, knowing how to hire, implementing these effective delegation strategies that we just talked about, that's really going to allow your business to soar. It's going to allow you as a business owner to soar, and it's going to free you up to have a business that is profitable and peaceful. So I'm all about that here. You guys have heard me talk about this. Peace and profits. You want a business that gives you peace and profits, not just profits where you're out here struggling and, tired and exhausted, and not just peace where you feel amazing about your business, but it's not bringing in any money. Peace and profits, and mastering the art of delegation will help you get there. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Kendra Nicole Podcast. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe. Please leave a review. Share it with some other entrepreneurs and business owners out there that you feel could benefit from these insights. And then on our next episode, or until our next episode, keep delegating, keep growing, keep building that successful business that you dreamed of. Keep focusing on building something that is peaceful and profitable. And I'll talk to you later. Bye. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Kendra Nicole Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing or leaving a review. Also, share it with a friend that might find it valuable. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll chat about more exciting topics and feature some amazing guests. And until then, keep focusing on peace and profit. This is the Kendra Nicole Podcast signing off. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next episode.